He froze. Her, he said quietly, his voice trembling. That code name, Ghosthawk. You can't be. Lena frowned. What's wrong with that name? The commander swallowed hard. Your father was the man who ended our last campaign. He broke our encryption, exposed our command posts, and destroyed our entire division. We called him the Silent Hawk. To us, he was a ghost who always knew where we'd be before we got there. We thought he was dead. Lena's chest tightened. She finally understood. Her father wasn't just a soldier, he was a legend. And somehow, the call she made, the code she cracked, had carried his legacy forward. For the first time in her life, Lena didn't feel like Deadweight. Word spread fast through the base. The weak recruit, who everyone thought would wash out, had saved an entire unit, and cracked an enemy code that no one else had recognized. But Lena didn't bask in the glory. She just went back to training, quietly, the same way her father must have done. She pushed herself harder, not for praise, but because she finally believed she belonged. Months later, on another mission deep in hostile territory, her new team leader radioed in. Ghosthawk, what's our next move? She smiled under her helmet, scanning the terrain. We fly silent, she said. And we strike smart. That day, even the toughest soldiers followed her lead without question. The girl they once called Deadweight was now the one carrying them through. And somewhere, in the stillness between gunfire and wind, Lena could almost hear her father's voice, calm, proud, and steady. Never forget, kid, he used to say. Courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about moving anyway, even when they doubt you. Lena moved, and the world learned her name. By the end of the war, the legend of Ghosthawk too was etched into military history. Not because she was fearless, but because she turned fear into focus, doubt into drive, and weakness into strength. And every soldier who met her learned the same lesson. Never underestimate the quiet ones. They're usually the ones rewriting the story. Lena Parker had never felt smaller than she did on her first day at Fort Raven. 18, fresh out of high school, her uniform too big for her slender frame, boots 2 sizes too heavy. Around her, recruits twice her size barked orders, joked, and jostled like they'd been born for this. Lena, on the other hand, stood quietly, clutching her duffel like a lifeline. The drill sergeant's eyes landed on her. You, he barked. Name, Parker, sir. Lena Parker. He squinted. You look like you could get knocked over by a stiff breeze, Parker. You better hope you can run fast, because I don't carry deadweight. The word deadweight hit harder than his voice. The others snickered. From that moment on, it became her unwanted nickname. Days turned into weeks. The training was brutal. Early mornings, long runs, endless drills. Lena was always last, always lagging. During rifle training, her shots barely grazed the target. During obstacle runs, she tripped more than she climbed. Even her roommate, Carla, a confident trainee from Texas, shook her head. You've got heart, Parker, Carla said once. But heart doesn't win wars. That night, when the lights went out, Lena stared at the ceiling, her father's voice echoing in her memory. He used to tell her stories about the army, about integrity, precision, sacrifice. But there was one thing he never told her, what he actually did. The medals in his drawer didn't say much. Just one symbol engraved with the word Ghosthawk. She thought it was just a call sign. She never realized it was a legend. The breaking point came during a 20-mile endurance march. It was raining hard. Mud clung to every inch of their uniforms. Lena's pack weighed like stone, and her knees screamed with pain. Halfway through, she collapsed. Captain Reynolds stood over her, arms crossed. Parker, this isn't a charity camp. You either keep up, or you go home. The word home hurt more than her knees. Home was where she'd watched her father's coffin lowered into the ground, where her mother cried silently for weeks. I'm not going home, Lena whispered. Reynolds stared at her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he dropped his gaze. Then prove it, and she did. For the next 6 months, Lena transformed. She ran extra miles before dawn. She lifted until her arms went numb. She memorized every combat manual she could get her hands on. When others slept, she worked. When others gave up, she persisted. By the time graduation came, she wasn't the fastest, strongest, or loudest. But she was the one who never quit. Lena's first deployment was in a conflict zone along the Tiberian border, an unforgiving desert where temperatures soared past 100 degrees by day and dropped below freezing by night. Her unit, Echo 7 was a reconnaissance and communications team, 5 soldiers tasked with intercepting enemy signals and relaying intel back to base. It was supposed to be a quiet mission, but quiet doesn't last long in war. On their 3rd week, deep behind enemy lines, they stumbled upon something they shouldn't have, a convoy of armored trucks bearing the insignia of the Iron Wolves, one of the most feared paramilitary divisions in the region. Echo 7 tried to radio back, but their comms were jammed.